Hello and welcome. Today I will cover a recurring question I see across various forums or Discord regarding Dragon Ball Fusion World, which is basically how should I start? What should I buy? Which starter deck? Which set? And in this video, I will try to cover the maximum in a reasonable period of time. I will rank each starter deck based on their current viability as of today and some easy way to enhance them. So this is all the starter deck we currently have in 2025. From left to right, the most recent to the oldest based on the release date. Which means the four at the right are the first Fusion World product that has been released for Fusion World, which has a lot of importance on the viability of them, but I will talk about this in more details later. I will start with, I would say, kind of viability tier list with these starter decks. This tier list is still subjective and based on my experience while guiding new players into the game. It does not mean that you cannot buy the C tier products, but again, in my opinion, the best value for money are the decks that we consider here as S tier, then A tier, and so on. I will go in detail on most of them from the most interesting one to the less. So, starter deck Giblet. It's a green aggro, little bit combo deck, which is the most recent alongside the Charlotte one, and it is a product collab with the mobile gacha game DB Legends. The deck is aimed to be more of an intermediate entry into the game, with really good card restricted to the leader. Which means the starter deck itself is already competitive, and while saying competitive, two of these starter decks can be considered as a meta deck tier 1, 2 already. That also means that this is currently the best starter deck in our current format to choose from. Illustrations are from the mobile game and are across the best visual the card game currently can offer. But as cons, as said, this is considered as a premium starter deck and are approximately 2 times more expensive than a regular starter deck, which means if you buy 2, you might already approach like $50. This could be considered a high price for starting the game, but on the other hand, you can consider buying nothing else than these 2 starter decks. So as the card inside, which are again Giblet, mostly leader restricted, and already really powerful, that means that there are few rooms for improvement if you are willing to dive more into the game and the deck building aspects. It is called a starter deck, but as again said, it's really more an intermediate deck. So if you never played a card game before, interaction can be a bit overwhelming, like confusing at first. Charlotte. So it has been released at the same time as Giblet, also highly viable and shares a bit the same properties as Giblet when I dive about, like I drill around the pros and cons. It's however considered a bit less powerful. I find it a bit easier to pilot, but it's still considered as an intermediate entry. I still put it in S tier, but I will show you why after, when I will describe the enhancement possibilities of the deck. So Daima Vegeta Blue. It was considered a few months ago as one of the worst leaders, and with no enhancement, this will still be the case. However, Bandai boosted him recently and gave him a couple of cards that made him highly viable that are not expensive at all. These few cards alone make the deck efficient, enough to be considered good, like even great. There was recently a bind list that affected the deck, but I won't go into more details about this bind list on the video. I still think that the deck is good and it also makes the deck building easier for us, so at least for first entry into the game. A good point also to notice is that both Daima decks come with a free FBO4 booster pack inside, which is indeed more value for us as consumer, as you can grab interesting cards for the deck as well. So, same as Vegeta, into the red Daima Goku there is a free booster inside, and FBO4, actually for the red Daima Goku, got some really interesting cards into. But one booster is low chance, but we never know. Red Daima Goku is a really versatile leader, and currently I think this is one of the few starter decks that can be built either aggro or with a more tempo controlled deck and efficiently. Aggro is much more easier to build with a few cards, however. Red is considered as a toolbox color in the game, which makes lots of cards from various sets really viable. This is a pro and a con indeed, because it opens a lot of possibilities as a deck builder, but it also means that it is a bit harder as a beginner to find easily like the card we want to enhance in our deck. So I rank it a bit the same FSO8 and FSO5 starter deck, but not for the same reason. Both share a high archetype into the deck, which is fun to play as a Dragon Ball fan, because we can learn the game with some fun combo mechanic that mirrors the identity of the leader, respectively with Daima and with what we call like Bardock crew. Daima Vegeta as a starter is better than Bardock, but both are relatively hindered by other leaders from base sets. Not that they are bad at all, but other leaders that share the same color can usually do more or less the same with more efficiency. However, enhancing them are relatively easy. Black, especially, as the color only appeared starting set 3, with lots of powerful cards to close the gap with the other colors, meaning that you don't need to dive in every set to find what works well for the starter. I won't go much into detail on the starter decks, like the OG starter decks. As leaders, they highly get power crept. Not that they are unviable, but way less interesting than the other starters or other leaders, both in terms of mechanics, that in terms of the deck content itself. They will mainly be bought to enhance deck from other leaders that might require some cards that are exclusive to the starter decks, especially broadly for a lot of green-based set leaders, but we won't cover this in this video. Now what I want to go next is enhancing our starter decks described before. A few disclaimers, however. We will explore together some deck building ideas, but we won't cover decks in details. The enhancement proposal won't be exhaustive, but with reasons. I want to propose an easy way to dive into each deck with few enhancements that can still boost the deck if you want to play with friends, or in locals with a bit of competitiveness. That means I will just propose an easy entry to enhance the deck with some extra Fusion World products. Indeed, products are always less efficient than buying single cards on dedicated platforms such as TCG Player or Card Market, depending on your region. But as a player and a collectioner, lots of people, me included, enjoy buying steel products for some chase card or for our collection. Perhaps you already bought even like some boxes, which means you already have the cards I will present in the video. And this is just buying advices of booster boxes, which means pull rates are not guaranteed. You may buy a box and not even have one copy of the card I will present. Some of them are reprint art that are really rare. Some are called SCR for secret rares and are not guaranteed as well. Even SRs are highly guaranteed but not 100%, and you may only have one of each SR per box. A 2-off would be the SR and its art version. Well, after all these speeches, let's dive into my enhancement proposal. So, as said for Giblet, only 2 starter decks are already highly viable. But you can also have some interest on the recently released Manga Booster 1 in late June 2025, because lots of cards can be beneficial for the leader. The secret rare, again, not guaranteed, is a very welcome extra pressure for the game, and is a strong secret for green in general. This is for sure one of the chase cards of the set that you would directly include into the starter deck. The other cards might be easier to find in the box and are really interesting to have 2, 3 or even 4 times depending of the card. To add more stability with the 1 cost, and more control of the pace of the game with the extras. For Charlotte, I would also recommend to have 2 copies of the starter deck, because having 3, 4 of all the SR from the starter deck is quite good, acknowledging the mechanic of the leader. FB06 is interesting for some cards, careful as most of the black cards won't be beneficial directly to the deck, because this is a deck mostly focused on Daima King Piccolo, but 2 SRs in the set, but again at best in sold copies, are highly interesting for the deck. Chi-Chi, which is what we call a self-awakener, that will allow Charlotte to flip on his awakened side faster and provide also nice defensive and offensive capabilities. And Gogeta, that's another 6 cost that do not interact with the leader ability, but still synergize well with the 6 cost from the starter deck. So it also provides an interesting permanent effect, especially against the yellow column. I also added with a yellow star, one of the big chase card of the set. So that is a reprint art from another extension, but if you put it, you might want to use it as well. Really nice art, indeed, and one of the most powerful defensive extra in the game. Another suggestion is to buy instead or additionally the starter deck Bardock. It is a good budget way of enhancing the deck with cards that adds a lot of stability for the deck. The double strike SR Bardock can also be considered. So with Daima Vegeta, as said, the leader itself is really bad, with access to key cards that are FB06 Vegeta Mini Daima and the promo Vegeta Mini Daima SS3. Therefore, I would suggest to buy a copy of FB06 that might give you 1 to 3 of these 5 cost Vegeta Mini Daima, but will also give you Giran, that is a good removal card that works well with Vegeta Daima, as it has the same effect than the leader ability. If you pull the reprint alt of Gohan 4 cost, the one from the top right, it is a good inclusion, as well as the secret rare that is a good replacement of your double strike from the starter deck. But if you do so, you might also consider to buy the starter deck Vegeta non-Daima for the extra named Galligan that is more effective than Rock Paper Scissors, an extra from FB06 that interacts with the secret rare. I would also highly suggest to buy or find across your community the Vegeta promo, that is the best card restricted to Daima Vegeta alongside the 5 cost from FB06. As said, These two cards pushed Vegeta Mini Leader from trash to great, so it's worth considering them both. So for Red Goku Daima, or named also Daimaku, two ways of building it. First way is to use the first Daima set, which is FBO5, and that provides lots of Daima cards that can interact directly or indirectly with the leader. It's an aggro mid-range playstyle, but if you want to have something even more aggro, you can use the FBO5 Daima Goku leader that you find in the box that is a bit similar, exchanging the Jack of all trade leader effect from the starter Daima with a pure offense effect. And depending of what you like more, depending of also I don't know, like your mood or whatever, you can change the leader quite easily from one to another without even changing the deck, and it would work quite effectively. So it's a good way to vary a bit when you want to change a bit the way you are playing. The chase card is the Daima restricted SR Glorio that adds a lot of punch to the deck. So these enhancements are not expensive at all because they are all in one set, which is, I think, my favorite set currently, because you have the Dokkan collab that adds 2 extra hits per display, which is why it is quite recommended. But if you want to play the control version, this is a bit more complicated. I will show you why. So Control Tempo Daimaku is a toolbox deck and might need a lot of cards from various sets, which I would not recommend at first for a beginner, or I would probably advise, like for now, directly to just buy the singles directly. It's a good deck, and usually red cards can be used in several red leader, so it's a good color to dive into. But again, as a beginner, it can be really overwhelming at first to chase a bit everything from every collection. Daima Vegeta Yellow is considered currently as an OK tier aggro deck. I would say that without enhancement, like untouched starter deck, this may be the best excluding Giblet and Charlotte. Overall, this is a well-rounded leader that benefits a lot of the Daima Yellow archetype that is 99% exclusive to FBO6, which can compose most of the deck if you want to go for a simple enhancement that keeps him viable and fun. The main target is SR Iron Suit that can rest the field that you see in the screen, Planet of Mega, for additional draw power, and you can also add some combo mechanic by adding the Magins, but this is not mandatory, to be honest. So the other interesting card is the Vegeta Mini SR that gives a good curve to the deck on turn 4, that otherwise the deck is missing a bit. Meat of Mega also is giving a good way to control opponent board. So regarding Bardock, as said earlier with Charlotte, the best addition to the deck is in fact buying both Bardock and Charlotte, but if you want to have Bardock leader, then you will need to go with FBO3, as the starter and the set were more or less considered to be complementary. The secret Goku GT is a must-have in the deck, ideally 4 off, which can start to be expensive for the build, but 1 is already good if you pull it from your display. The display might provide you lots of common and uncommon cards, mainly Hercule, Power Brothers and Giru, that got a good synergy with the marker mechanic that the black color have, and it will provide a way to turn your deck more mid-range with extra sustainability. Same with the 10x Kamehameha. And that was it for me. Thanks a lot for watching the video until the end. If you want more advanced deck building, I highly advise you to check other content creators, as well as the site here, which is Eggman Event, that will put most of the recent tournament decklist across the world. Thanks again, and see you for another video.